Previously on Pokemon Card GB2, here comes Great Team Rocket. Some mean bullies stole Isaac's cards, Matthew's sanity was spared, and Parasect proved to everybody that it is not to be trifled with. Also, a guy in a hood kidnapped some defenseless children with threats of drowning and immolation until I sat down at a table and played a thought-provoking card game against him. But now it's time to travel to the GR Island. Will my Shroom Boys instill fear throughout as they've been doing all along? Will Matthew ever make any friends? How many Touched by an Angel references will I shoehorn in this time? Let's find out as we complete the second half of Pokemon Card GB2, Here Comes Great Team Rocket, using only a team of Paras and Parasect. And I say second half lightly. This island is very time consuming. Let's get into it. So I make my way to the airport and immediately board that very same GR blimp that beamed up everybody's cards, including mine. But you know what? I'm doing just fine now. I moved on to bigger and better Parasect, and I even got my old ones back. So does it look like I care, Great Team Rocket? I decide to hit up the Grass Fortress first because it's close. Immediately I get accosted by yet another GR member, this time GRX. He thinks he can be the one to defeat my boys. After stomping him, the game throws a weird twist that I honestly didn't see coming. GRX is revealed to be Derpy Ronald? What? He tells me he's actually undercover as a spy. All of a sudden this Pokemon card game is blending in with my Bond series. What a twist. Maybe Ronald does have some redeeming qualities. He's a real renegade. I then learn about the Grass Fortress leader Parker. Entering the next room, there is one girl standing in front of a cage with Science Club leader Rick locked inside. Just look at this face of the kidnapper. This is basically a survival horror game now. Melissa is no problem at all, and she frees Rick after her defeat. I assume Rick was so incredibly frightened after being kidnapped and locked away, and he just kinda politely thanks me and walks away, offering me a battle later. He says nothing to the horrific little girl that had him locked away. Nothing. Just like he's leaving a friend's house. Is this a fever dream? Now I have to go fight James, who ends up being GR1 in disguise? So his true form is a mask and hood? I'm so confused. So this ends up being a battle of wits. My one Paras against his one Zubat. He instantly uses the boss's way to get a Dark Venusaur, then uses a Master Ball to get an Ivysaur in his hand, so this is getting pretty scary fast. If he manages to get a Bulbasaur, this could be rough. So I use 2+ powers on my first turn, taking Zubat down to 10. He doesn't draw a second Pokemon in his turn, so I just deal 10 more for the win. Huh. I'm quickly learning that I can't show every battle or else this video would be 2 hours long and not out until November. So from now on I'm going to stick to showing the real important battles and just mentioning what I had to do against the lackey trainers. But just know that I never deviated from using only Paras or Parasect in battle, even for these small battles. I defeated Liz on the first try, who required my deck to use only grass energies. Liz, I have news for you. I live and breathe grass energies. That's not stifling me in the least bit. After defeating her in about 40 seconds, the GR Grass leader is up, Parker. The thing with this game is that the leaders have some fun customized rules that definitely won't hinder me in the future. Parker's rule is that grass Pokemon can't be poisoned, paralyzed, confused, etc. Parker, my man, you're doing me a solid with that one. I only use my grass friends in this challenge. However, that does make my Parasect a little less powerful since Poison Spore now only just does 10 damage. But Parker opens up with a Kangaskhan, who can definitely be poisoned. And poisoned it was. But first, I need to scatter spores to get a Paras on reserve. Luckily, Kangaskhan needs a lot of energies to attack though. I get a very quick Parasect who can poison on turn 2, so Kangaskhan starts to feel a little sick. Parker starts to power up his non-poisonable Scyther on reserve and has 2 more Kangaskhan on the ready, but I put the Kibosh on that with an energy removal. Kangaskhan goes down, then his Scyther who ended up doing nothing, then a Squirtle who can also be poisoned, then a Kangaskhan, then a Kangaskhan, and I'm sensing that I was never in any real danger this entire battle. His Gloom and Oddish are dead as heck, and I get the victory having 3 Parasect. Very easy. Parker then tells me the GR Electric Club is next, so I guess this island is much more linear. The GR Electric Club has 2 lackeys and the leader. First is Cassie, who demands that I use 4 Pikachu in my deck against her. This may sound really bad, but I simply must treat them as if they are mysterious fossils and adhere to the challenge by never attacking with them. My only options with them are retreating or hitting the done button. My first game against her, I only drew 1 Pikachu, so that was an instant loss. I won on my second attempt. Next up is GR number 3, in disguise as someone named Chip. Chip is a real Chad and demands that I remove all of my precious grass energies for lightning energies. You think that scares me, Chip? It kinda does. Basically, my MVP Parasect is completely useless for this battle, but luckily, my old go-tos of the Jungle Parasect can utilize lightning energies to still use Slash. For this one, I ended up winning on the 3rd attempt. Then he reveals that he had Lightning Master Steve locked in some canister and proceeds to call him Stan. That's actually pretty funny. And here we go with the constant kidnapping, all over some cards with cute pictures on them. Steve gives me some Electabuzz card for saving him. Good, thank you. I needed a new coaster for my iced coffee. GR Electric leader Catherine is up. And get this, she gets so terrified of my Parasect army, she makes up these cheating bogus rules where all of her precious lightning types do 10 more damage on every attack. Basically a free plus power on every turn for her Zappy fam. Why did I agree to this? I start with 1 Paras against her Eevee and 3 others. It's the Jungle Paras, so I can't scatter spores or anything. I do get a Parasect on turn 2, so I get right to poisoning. Eevee retreats and in comes Voltorb, who can do 30 with 1 energy for Speedball based on her cheating rules. In a weird twist, I now have 2 Parasect in my hand, but I can't find any other Paras to even use them. I use 2 plus powers to one-shot Voltorb, and she brings in a Doduo. After poisoning that, Doduo retreats and she brings in a Pikachu. I'm running out of options, but I do have a Professor Oak just in case. However, using that would result in me discarding all 3 of my remaining Parasect, since I also drew the 3rd one. It's my only option or else I lose, so I now have to try and win with only Paras once this Parasect falls on the sword. I keep Parasect in as long as I can and work on poisoning, healing, and gust of winning the ones I want out, like Dark Jolteon, who can now also do 30 damage with 1 energy. And that is what happens. It's all on the other Paras now. We start taking each other out, alternating prizes. We're down to 2 prizes left each, and she gets a Dark Raichu who needs 3 energies to do Surprise Thunder. Oh, also, my deck is getting very low, like 5 cards left low. Dark Raichu Surprise Thunders my Paras across his innocent bug face, so she only needs to take out 1 more. Dark Raichu goes down with only 10 HP left, but my last Paras is very injured. I have a Bill and 2 energy removals. A Bill will almost lose for me since the deck is so minimal. I take a chance to remove energies from her Voltorb and Eevee since Doduo has a chance of dealing no damage from coin flips. I go for the Bill, granting me another energy removal. I need her to not deal any damage next, but 1 energy down on Voltorb using Speedball, and it's all over. Such a disappointing loss. Attempt number 2. It's the Paras vs Eevee rematch that no one was asking for. She gets a Dark Jolteon right away. Paras goes down and I have 1 left. I take out Dark Jolteon with a plus power, and in comes another Eevee. She keeps adding to her bench, and I try to preserve the only Paras left. I gust a wind to take out Pikachu, leaving only Eevee and Doduo left. She then gets a second Dark Jolteon, but with no energies. But all she needs is 1 to do Lightning Flash for 1 energy, thus ending Paras' life. Ugh, this extra damage thing is so cheap. Attempt number 3. I get a Parasect on turn 2, but it's my only Pokemon. She almost immediately gets Dark Jolteon, the new bane of my existence. Hilarious. Attempt number 4. This time it's my 2 Paras against her Voltorb. With her cheap rules, Voltorb is very scary. She brings my first Paras down to 10 HP on the first turn alone. I can't bother with this Paras any longer, so he will be sacrificed to the Speedballer. Thankfully, my next draw is a Parasect. Voltorb leaves this realm, and in comes another Voltorb whom I'm really beginning to dislike. She does some shifty stuff like using a Defender, so I tornado that ball all the way down the tennis court to bring in a Pikachu. I get to use a Professor Oak, yielding me 2 more Parasect. Sweet, yo. Now with 2 Parasect ready for battle, Pikachu goes down and in comes Doduo. She plays another Voltorb, sweet Jesus, I am going to scream, and gets nowhere with Fury Attack. She retreats Doduo from poison as she was predictably going to do, so now it's Voltorb again. I leech life for some health back, and she retreats Voltorb for a Voltorb, and I am about to be the one to self-destruct. Then she gets a Dark Raichu and starts to power that mouse up, also while using a Defender for her Voltorb. So I poison Voltorb, accepting my first Parasect defeat next turn. At least these balls will be gone. We both faint, so it's new Parasect against Dark Raichu. I poison Dark Raichu and brace myself for the Surprise Thunder that is anything but a surprise. But it sucks that my bench also gets hurt. I remove an energy from Dark Raichu, hoping that all it wants to do is keel over and die from poison. Of course, she not only retreats, but uses 2 potions on it, so that sucks. At least its energies are gone. Doduo comes in, who is so not threatening, and then she keeps doing the retreat game between 2 Doduo and the Dark Raichu. I knock Doduo out, needing only 2 prizes left. In comes stupid Dark Jolteon now, fantastic. I get lucky and manage to poison it as she takes out my second Parasect. Dark Jolteon gets taken out the next turn, so I only need 1 more for the win. Pikachu comes in, but I have the ultimate card in my hand, a Gust of Wind. I reverse vacuum the Pokemon mascot to the ends of time and drag in the Doduo with only 20 HP left, giving me the Thunder Coin. That one was pretty rough. I'm then given the option of the Water or Fire Club next, so of course Water is up. First is Jacob, who demands only water energies. I've been here before. This one took me 2 tries, as I'm limited to only the 2 types of Paras or Jungle Parasect. Cody is next, who wants me to have 4 Magikarp on my deck. Okay, 4 Meat Shields, got it. This was over in minutes because he only ever got 1 Magikarp and 1 Poliwag. So then he releases Jack from literal water torture, and just like with everybody else who was kidnapped, Jack gives me a card I'll never use and wanders off, never acknowledging that he was just being held captive. Alex is next, whose special rule is never going beyond 3 Pokemon on a bench. Alex, my Shroom Boys were made for that rule. You just wrote your own epitaph. That battle literally took me under a minute because he only used 1 seal. GR Water Fortress leader Brooke is next, who commands that all water Pokemon cost 1 less to retreat. That could be a problem, as retreating is the most common response if I poison them. But, not really too much to say about this battle. 1 single Parasect took out 6 of her Pokemon in a row like a complete boss. I even had to deal with 2 different Lapras, a Seaking, and an Articuno, but they were all scrubs. I even won with full health too. Man, I love this Parasect. Water Coin got, and the Fire Fortress is next. This should be a fabulous time. First up is Jess, but strangely enough, she doesn't make any customized rules. Okay. Even with that still, it took me 5 attempts to beat. Ponyta and Magmar were real bullies to my Mushroom Bugs. Second is Kara, who in a surprise to nobody wants only fire energies in our decks. I'm going to have to enter the dark side for this one. This took me 2 tries, as I literally lost the first attempt in 1 turn. Ouch. Third is Ellen, who sounds like she's possessed, I don't know, and has Grandmaster Courtney trapped on an island surrounded by lava. Ellen, I'm not a fan of Courtney either with all of her gross Moltres cards, but this ain't the way, Chief. Ellen demands that I use 4 Eevee Meat Shields, so we're back to basics on that one. However, I took this one in 1 attempt and never even used an Eevee. So Courtney gets free, and I know she's going to give me some card I don't want, and yep, there it is, and she's going to just walk away, and yep, there she goes. Up next is GR Fire Fortress Master Bernard. Oh boy. Bernard's customized rules are Fire Pokemon are no longer weak to water. Pfft. Bro, I couldn't give 2 flying Psyducks about your little rulebook there. I draw 1 Vending Paras against his Magmar. Not a great start. But I start going absolutely ham on my deck. Bill's Teleporter to draw 5 cards, a Bill to draw 2 more cards, and I have a Professor Oak on handy. I'm going to end up decking myself by turn 5 at this rate. Even after drawing 8 new cards that turn alone, I don't draw a single Paras, so I opt for Scatter Spores to bring in my Jungle Buddy. But that Fire Weakness and Smokescreen from Magmar is going to be incredibly annoying. So I use another Bill for 2 cards, then another Bill from that Bill. Bam! 34 cards left in my deck on turn 2. Do I look scared? Yeah, it's a fire battle. Magmar takes out Paras on the next turn, so I'm down to 1 and he's building his bench. My only option now is to empty as much of my hand as I can to get that surly professor to come aboard. Bam! 26 cards left in the deck on turn 3. Thankfully, I draw both a Paras and Parasect, so I can at least start to poison. Also, remove energies. Magmar starts to see its life flash before its eyes, and I can tell it's frightened. But his bench is getting more beefed up. Even this new Charmander he has does 40 damage to my boys with only 1 single energy. Yikes. I draw another Parasect, so it's time to beef up my own bench with a side of mushrooms. I also have 2 Gust of Winds just in case. I fully heal and Magmar goes down. Ponyta is next, which has Fireworks that I don't like. Fireworks does 40 to my guys, and Ponyta loses an energy on a Tails coin flip. In a lucky twist, I draw a potion, so at least Charmander can't take Parasect out once I defeat this horse. I managed to draw another potion, so I can fully heal yet again by taking Charmander down to 20. I get Flame-tailed again, but now Charmander is dead as heck. But Ponyta ruins the party and sets off some fireworks all over my poor friend. Parasect 2 is up, but it's my last Pokemon. I go for the poison, so in comes another Charmander. Time to start utilizing my Gust of Winds. I use a potion energy to heal for 10 and make him bring in an energyless Vulpix so I can heal up and hopefully get more Shroomies. Only 19 cards left in my deck and I'm still struggling for Pokemon. I leave Vulpix hanging on for dear life as I can't seem to draw anything useful. But Bernard is not putting any energies down on Vulpix to retreat, so I'm getting a huge break there. Then he gets a Dark Charmeleon. Oh god. I finally draw something useful and get a successful Pokeball to at least get another Paras. My deck is running very low too. We've got to give him more time. But now's my chance. Vulpix flies across the globe and I bring in the Dark Charmeleon who can rain Hellfire at any point. I slap a defender on and poison it. He goes for Fireball, which will do a mighty 140 damage, but only if he flips a heads. And he does not. Holy wow, that was close. Dark Charmeleon takes the fast train to the Pokemon Center and I'm down to 2 prizes. He brings in an injured Ponyta instead of Dark Ninetales, so that's an easy knockout. 1 prize left. He brings in Magmar to knock out Parasect, but the win is now a sure thing for me. All I gotta do is Gust a Wind to bring in the Vulpix with 10 health left for the victory against the GR Fire Leader on the first try. Wow, that was close. I only had 9 cards left in the deck too. I am telling you, Gust a Wind is such a good trainer card. I now have half of my GR coins and I'm told to hit up the GR Fighting Club next. No repetitive Fight Club reference this time. Brutus is the leader here and he's making me go on some hide and seek mission to find his 2 minions. So I start wandering around this area like an absolute moron, falling through cracks in the floor and opening chests like this is a Link to the Past or something. I just want to play some cards and get a move on. Dude, Fighting Club blows. After breaking my back in 6 different places, I finally locate Tony, who now wants me to remove any of my cards that remove energies. Hey, come on, I love those. The fight itself is very easy and I win on turn 4. So now we get to see Clubmaster Mitch get released and he gives me a cool Porygon as a thank you. Cool Porygon? I beg to differ. But wait, what's this? Mitch actually has something to say to his kidnapper? Tell him off, Mitch. Are you certain, Tony? I am to take these booster packs? What is happening? Why are you asking him to... No, stop. There is no making sense of this now. Nobody acts logical in this game. After finding Grace, she asks for the usual only fighting energies request. It's just going through the motions at this point, and the battle was pretty easy in 1 attempt. Next up is GR Fighting Fortress Leader Brutus, who makes the customized rules that all Pokemon with a resistance to fighting gets ignored. So all of those birds that I brought with me are now useless. Oh well, I guess I better stick to using only Paras and Parasect. To be honest, this battle was pretty uneventful. Brutus used a couple Kangaskhan, a Dark Primeape who ended up knocking itself out, and a Dark Marowak who is of course weak to grass. I ended the match with 3 Parasect and full health throughout. So yeah, that GR Fighting coin was cake to achieve, and I did it without using any of those birds that I just love using. I now get access to the Psychic Stronghold. Walking inside, it's eerily empty, like I'm being watched. And I was. GR Psychic Fortress Leader Claire was watching me, and I'm being told I must make a decision. I have to beat 3 out of the 4 members in order to battle Claire. Kevin wants a battle where resistances get reduced from -30 to -10. That also doesn't even apply to my deck, so that will be 1. Victoria is actually GR number 3, and she wants the boring only Psychic Energies rule. I'll also do this one. My next option is Clyde, who demands I use a combination of 6 Ghastly and Haunter. Wow. So the 2 Haunter cards will be completely useless for me. Lastly is Heidi, who wants no trainer cards to be used. The hell with that idea. Heidi can go fly a kite with her no trainer cards. Kevin was very easy, first try there. Victoria was next, and that took 2 attempts, as I had an awful draw in the first game. My final match against Clyde was also 1 attempt. That battle took a while, but I never had to bring in a Ghastly at all. So on to GR Psychic Fortress Leader Claire. She had some weird thing going on where she kidnapped Grandmaster Rod and summoned him there, and I don't know. Claire has the rule where all energies attached to fainting Pokemon get returned to their hands. Not really too much of a hindrance for me. Let's do this. It starts with my Paras against her Slowpoke, who has Afternoon Nap. What that does is she searches her deck for a Psychic Energy and automatically attaches it to Slowpoke. For her stupid made-up rules, this card is pretty dangerous, as if I take out Slowpoke, she can get like 6 energies back in her hand. Claire is also insistent on using energy removals, and my god did she do that. Slowpoke keeps napping and she keeps building a bench. My best bet is to get Slowpoke back on the bench without making it faint, so all those energies stay wasted on it. I Gust a Wind to bring in Mr. Mime because he's a virtually no threat to me with my Paras out. And side note, yes, I admit I was wrong in my last Parasect challenge, as many people told me I could have used Spore to put Mr. Mime to sleep to negate its invisible wall power. I now know this. Claire plays a Dark Gengar next, which has an interesting Pokemon power, Play Tricks. She can choose to have all damage counters on all of my Pokemon rearranged randomly. Since I only have 1 Paras with full health, that's meaningless for now. So I easily take out Mr. Mime, and in comes Slowpoke. She uses a super energy removal now to remove both energies on my only Paras, so that's cool. In doing so, she also lost the energy on her Dark Gengar. I finally draw my second Paras, and Slowpoke now has 6 Psychic Energies on it. Good lordy. But I accidentally make a mistake here. I draw a Parasect and poison Slowpoke, forgetting that I don't want it to faint. Oops. I gotta hope I draw a Gust of Wind quick. Claire then uses a computer search to draw a card, then a Professor Oak, getting her deck all the way down to 23 cards. This could get interesting. A lot of people say Professor Oak is broken, but I would love it if she used another one. Then she goes for another energy removal. That's 4 she's removed so far. Then another one. Parasect is powerless again. Slowpoke power naps some more, bringing it up to 7 psychic energies, but also 1 less card in her deck. But I draw a Pokedex, so I can look and see that a Gust of Wind is coming up. I gotta get Slowpoke out of there now, so I unload my hand and use a Professor Oak myself to blow Sleepy Slowpoke away, who is currently harnessing the power of the galaxy to bring in Kangaskhan, which is the most perfect Pokemon she could have active right now. Not only does Kangaskhan need 3 to retreat, but if she keeps using Fetch to draw a card, her deck will drop even faster. Once again, Gust of Wind saves the day. But to my surprise, she actually does use a Professor Oak. Yeah, absolutely, you do that, Claire. And use Fetch too. And she actually does. Only 13 cards left in her deck. Oh, but she also removes her 6 energy of the game from me too. It's like I'm being forced to win by decking. She uses Fetch yet again, and I remove an energy from Kangaskhan so she's less likely to retreat or attack in time. 10 cards left, but now she uses a nightly garbage run, which allows her to take 3 of any basic Pokemon, evolution cards, or energies in her discard pile back to her deck. Ugh, back to 13 cards. And then, this is hilarious, you're gonna love this, a super energy removal, so now I've been forced to lose 8 energies this game. But she's also not making any of my boys faint either, so she's kinda digging her own grave here. She uses another Fetch, back to 10 cards left. She does start to put energies on Kangaskhan, so just for some insurance, I go for the poison now. Just once, so she loses 10 each turn. Kangaskhan faints from poison, and she has 5 cards left in her deck now. In comes one of her Dark Gengars, who also has Push Aside. Push Aside causes one of my Pokemon at random to have it and all cards attached to it shuffled back in my deck with a heads coin flip. It's like a one-hit KO, but without the prize drawn. I poison Dark Gengar, so she retreats to bring in the other one. Push Aside is successful, and it's my Paras who goes back in the deck. That was close. I still have 2 Parasect out. I Gust of Wind Dark Gengar to bring in a powerless Mr. Mime to waste some time so she runs out of cards. Ugh, but she uses another nightly garbage run, giving her 3 more cards back to her deck. Just lose already. I take a chance and go for the poison on Mr. Mime since she starts adding energies. Mr. Mime is a complete pushover to these new Parasect, but Meditate could do some damage. She retreats for Dark Gengar, and she succeeds in another Push Aside, causing me to lose my active Parasect into my deck. No! I bring in my other Parasect, draw another Parasect, and go for the poison again. 4 cards left. Then she uses a computer search. Oh, okay, 3 cards left. Even better. She succeeds again in a Push Aside, and yet again it's my active Parasect going away. 1 Parasect left. I get lucky and draw a Paras. I poison Dark Gengar. She brings in the other Dark Gengar and fails on Push Aside. I poison that Dark Gengar. 1 card left. She fails again on Push Aside, so it's looking like the victory is all me. Dark Gengar faints and she brings in Slowpoke? Yeah, I won. She just headbutts once and I simply end my turn, giving me the GR Psychic Coin. That one was a lot of fun, and she didn't make any of mine faint the entire battle. She lets Rod go without consequence and tells me to go to the Colorless Altar next to go find the king and defeat him. Rod gives me some Dragonite card that I threw back in his face. The Colorless Altar is exactly how it sounds. 3 demonic clerics surrounding a pentagram, except they forgot the pentagram. Same thing as usual. Seth demands that I have 4 Spearow in my deck, and we all know the drill at this point. I did win this on the first try, but man, it was close in a real long battle. But now we have a problem. For the first time in this entire game, there is a demand for cards that I don't even own. Alan wants 4 Mysterious Fossils in my deck, the cards that were the staple of my deck in the original game. You know, the ones that the GR Blimp stole from me. If you demand that I use those, Alan, maybe don't steal them from me. So I gotta travel all the way back to the mainland to battle some lad named Michael over and over who gives Omanite packs containing mysterious fossils. This game is long. However, thanks to some insight from fellow viewers, packs are randomized on the spot. So what I can do to save a ton of time is save state before opening each pack to assure I get some mysterious fossils each time. Big brain solutions to small brain problems. So really, that didn't take too long. Back to Alan, who was extremely easy, and in a comedic twist, mysterious fossils were never used on either side. Lastly is GR number 2 in disguise as Avery, who wants 4 Rattata in the deck. This really isn't bad at all since Rattata are free to retreat. And weirdly enough, this was yet another real easy main battle. Neither of us used a Rattata either. My one Parasect ended up taking out everybody, including the mighty Furo, Pidgeotto, and Tauros. Colorless coin achieved. Only one left. Avery tells me that I'm the first non-GR member to ever enter the castle. It's time to find King Velici and take the crown. So I enter the castle and Derpy Ronald tells me that he just got demolished in there and that my Parasect army might be strong enough to beat them. Then he challenges me to a battle which is a waste of time. I actually beat him by decking him, just like I've done twice before. I love when my opponents use Kangaskhan. And then I finally get to meet the king. He tells me I need to beat his 2 executives before I can fight him, but they will only fight me at this cute little card table they have set up, fully embracing the nerd culture with their nifty LARP costumes. Clay is first, who wants me to use the 4 legendary cards that I dropped in a vat of dry ice at the beginning. Why must you do this to me? Can't my Shroom Boys be enough? I'm not even going to use those cards against you, my man. So now I have to go all the way back and get these cards that I hate with the fiery passion of Moltres just to not even use them. I missed when the quest was simple. Beat the Grandmasters and have my lemon drop martinis. Now I have to beat all 4 of these Grandmasters again that I already did. First up is Fire Master Courtney, my 1 Paras against her 1 Ponyta. Well, this is doable. Oh, she played 2 Moltres getting 6 energies from Fire Giver. Attempt number 2. I lose on turn 2. Attempt number 3. Another 1 Paras versus 1 Ponyta. Ponyta is able to dish out 40 damage with fireworks on the first turn, so this is bad. So of course she immediately plays a Moltres to get 4 energies from Fire Giver. God, I hate that bird. But Ponyta kicks me for 20 instead of potentially losing an energy from fireworks. I draw a Parasect from using a couple bill cards, so I scatter spores to bring in more reserves. Ponyta takes out Paras, so I'm kinda down to my last turn, but once again a gust of wind comes by to save my life. Her horse gets blown out of the stable, and in comes the legendary Firebird with no energies. I get Parasect and Poison Moltres, and she starts to power up her bench, which is 2 Ponyta and a Vulpix. She decides to sacrifice Moltres, who now has a shelf life from poison. Moltres perishes, and in comes her Ponyta, who she keeps alternating after poisons. I take 1 out, she takes out a Parasect, so now I'm down to 1 injured Parasect left, and she starts to power up a Magmar. Ponyta faints and she brings in a Vulpix who has Foxfire, which allows her to bring one of my benched Pokemon in. Since I'm out of those, it just does 20. She also plays a different Moltres. I have a Parasect in hand, so I use a Recycle to bring back a Paras to the top of my deck so I can utilize it. I take down her Vulpix with ease. 2 prizes remain. But now she brings in annoying Magmar with Smokescreen. I use a Professor Oak to get a new hand and actually get lucky with Poison Spore hitting Magmar. She doesn't retreat it and it hits me again, so I heal with a potion. I do have a Gust of Wind and a Professor Oak in my hand as well. I miss with Leech Life, but luckily Magmar is still poisoned. I get a successful Pokeball flip to get another Paras, but miss with Leech Life again. Magmar takes out Parasect but dies from poison as well. 1 prize left for me. She brings in an absolutely super powered Moltres, so I immediately Gust of Wind to drag out the Moltres without energies to get to poisoning with a plus power. I'm so close. Courtney does nothing, so I get Moltres down to 30 HP. But then she uses the ace up her sleeve to completely foil my plan. She uses a switch to bring in the ultra-powered Moltres, who 3rd degree burns my Parasect with Fire Wing for a crazy 100 damage. All I have left is a Paras, and I have one final hope. I need to use that Professor Oak to somehow draw a Gust of Wind and a plus power and a Parasect all in one attempt. And oh my god, would you believe that is exactly what happens? What crazy good odds. So just like that, I defeat Courtney's fancy Fire Giver Moltres, giving me the ever so close victory. Wow, that was awesome. Zappy Steve is next, and this one has taken a few attempts in the past. It's Paras versus Electabuzz, and he immediately gets a second Electabuzz and starts paralyzing. That sucks because I wanted to scatter spores, but I do have a Parasect in hand. Then he gets a Zapdos, and here we go. I poison that Electabuzz faster than Ash releasing his Butterfree, but it's not looking good. I'm down to 30 HP, and if Electabuzz uses Thunder Punch, it's over. So of course, legendary Lightning Master Steve puts a Lightning Energy on the other Electabuzz. There you go. Electabuzz goes away, and in comes the other Electabuzz. A heads coin flip on Thunder Punch defeats me. And it's a Tails. Alright, down to 10. It's all on this next card draw, and it's a Defender, which extends my game 1 turn. I use that and Leech Life to heal for 20. Then Electabuzz gets a heads, bringing me back to 10. I draw a bill, so I get 2 more cards, and like so many times before, Gust of Wind arrives to save my game. I blow that Electabuzz away faster than Ash making excuses for why his Butterfree is gone, and bring in a powerless Zapdos to fully heal my Parasect. This Zapdos is basically here for taking hits now, but I have another Gust to Wind handy. Zapdos faints, 4 prizes left, and this is still my only Pokemon. His stupid Electabuzz comes back and blasts Parasect in the face. I draw a Pokédex so I can have a second Paras and Parasect coming up next. I blow Electabuzz away again to bring in the other Zapdos to do the exact same thing again. But just like that, boom, another Parasect on the ready. Steve then starts to power up an Electrode, so it's time to get Zapdos out of there. Electrode comes in, who can hit me for 30 with Sonic Boom. I Pokeball for another Paras just in case. Then Steve brings in the star of his deck, the legendary Zapdos. Just placing it down does 30 to a Pokemon at random. Like a complete doof, the damage is dealt to his own Electabuzz. Awesome. But of course, he starts to power up Zapdos. Electrode goes down without too much trouble, and he brings in the very injured Electabuzz. If Electabuzz hits itself with a Tails coin flip on Thunder Punch, we both faint since he used a plus power. Which is what happens. 1 prize left for me now, but this new Zapdos could be rough. As we all know, Zapdos has Big Thunder, which does 70 to a Pokemon at random. I revive a Paras to give Parasect more of a chance to stay alive. So I get to poisoning Zapdos, now his only Pokemon left. This is gonna be close. Then the Big Thunder hits. Boom! Paras gets electrocuted. 2 Parasect left. I leech life Zapdos, bringing it down to 40, which means if he does nothing of note here, I win from 2 poison hits and a leech life. And that's it. All he does is Big Thunder, which annihilates my active Parasect, but I win on the next turn in an all too close battle. First try though, nice. Next is Jack with his scary Articuno. It's my Paras against his 1 Magikarp with only 30 HP. I could win this on turn 2 if he doesn't draw anything. Oh, yeah, there's an Articuno. And there's another Articuno. Articuno's quick freeze ability failed both times, so no paralysis for me. I use a couple bills to get another Paras and Parasect, so things are looking okay for me. Magikarp goes down without a problem. In comes a powerless Articuno. Jack starts to power up a Chansey instead of either of his Articuno, and then plays a third Articuno with the ability of Aurora Veil, which is useless for this deck. Jack then switches out Articuno for Chansey, scoops up Articuno to place again, causing my Parasect to be paralyzed. But then, unbeknownst to me at the time, Jack plays a card that will ultimately be his downfall, Professor Oak. I take out one of his Articuno, but Chansey is becoming a nuisance. Also his Dark Gyarados, who I'm trying to get out of there as fast as possible. He retreats from being poisoned per usual as Chansey knocks out my Parasect. 1 Parasect left, but something weird happens. Chansey gets down to 10 and Jack retreats it for a powerless Articuno. And he just kinda puts 1 energy on it and never any more. He powers up his bench, but that's not doing anything for him as he's running out of cards in his deck. I keep ending my turn over and over and over and he's not even reacting. So, he just runs out of cards, giving me the victory. Legendary Ice Grandmaster Jack over here, folks. Finally, just Rod is left, and then I can continue on with the challenge. Rod uses Dragonite and Charizard and stuff, so I must tread lightly here. I start with just 1 single Jungle Paras against 4 of his, and he goes first, so I'm not even able to attack for a little while. But he starts with a Kangaskhan. It's turn 1, and I'm already getting the idea of decking him. Kangaskhan starts using Fetch every turn, so Rod is losing at least 2 cards on every turn. I start scratching Kangaskhan as they are less likely to put down energies on an injured Pokemon. So I get Kangaskhan down to 10 and leave it at that, letting Rod draw extra cards every turn. And he uses a bill or 2 as well. But here's the thing, this was not the entire match. Rod used a switch to bring in his ultra-powered Charizard to rain full-on Hellfire down on my bugs. 200 damage from Fire Spin. I'll see you in another life, my friend. This would be it for me, but as I've been saying, the best trainer card in the game is Gust of Wind. I politely pick up Charizard and set him back down to bring in that barely functioning Kangaskhan. Continue using Fetch, good sir. Rod does this one more time, 200 damage, instant char. But I pick up Charizard again and bring in Kangaskhan one more time. Rod stops using Fetch, but he just lets his deck run out of cards instead of adding energies in order to retreat. Yeah, this AI is definitely a little wonky. So I did it. I defeated all 4 of them, getting the legendary cards that I still don't want but must use in order to win. Basically, if I draw any of the birds, I can play them for stalling, but I can't attack or use their Pokemon powers. Dragonite will literally be a useless card since I'm not adding Dratini or Dragonair, of course. Also, I already won these last time. Let's go to the castle and end this. First up is GR Executive Clay. I only draw a Zapdos, so this is really bad. And really bad it was. I lose without ever dealing any damage. Attempt number 2. I draw a Moltres this time, but luckily also a Paras against his Oddish. Oddish gets to step in and poisons Paras right away. I scatter spores for another Paras friend, as it's not looking good for this guy. But in comes Charmander, bam, Flame Tail across the eyes. But I decide to bring in Moltres as cannon fodder while I power up Paras and hopefully get a Parasect. He immediately evolves into Dark Charmeleon, which I hate, but I do draw another Paras, revive a Paras, and get a Parasect. I give Moltres a Viking Funeral and use 2+ powers to blast Dark Charmeleon with Poison Spores. Dark Charmeleon goes down, in comes Charmander, in which I Gust of Wind away for a Slowpoke. He uses the boss's way to get another Dark Charmeleon, evolves Charmander, and retreats Slowpoke for it. Ugh. Parasect is taken out, 2 Paras left. With crazy luck, I draw a Parasect and poison Dark Charmeleon right away. He retreats it for Dark Gloom, who poisons Parasect. I return the favor and also heal mine. But then he gets a Dark Golduck, retreats Dark Gloom, and brings in Dark Charmeleon, which is also confusing my Parasect from Dark Gloom's Pokemon power. I end up hitting myself for 40 from confusion. Come on. I go for Coin Luck again, and it works. Dark Charmeleon goes down to 10, and I heal for 20. I do it again, and it works. Dark Charmeleon is gone, in comes Dark Golduck. He uses a Professor Oak and a Bill, getting his deck down to 12, so decking is an option too. But I make a mistake here. I play Zapdos on the bench, not fully realizing I have to use his Pokemon power, dealing 30 damage to a Pokemon at random. This goes against the challenge, so I decide that if this factors into the result at all, I will restart. His Oddish gets hit, but luckily it doesn't knock it out. I think we're okay. But this means that playing the birds from now on are kind of a first turn option only, since the powers don't work then. So I poison Dark Golduck. He retreats for Slowpoke, and I Gust of Wind to re-poison Dark Golduck. He retreats again, Slowpoke goes down, and I get poisoned by a different Oddish, ultimately losing Parasect. I take out Oddish, and all I do now is Gust of Wind to bring in Dark Golduck to give me the victory. Nice. Allison is next, who shifts between one of 3 different rules. Retreat costs are 1 extra for all Pokemon, discard piles don't exist, aka the cards are removed from the game, or resistances go from -30 to -10. None of these are real issues for me. Also, I can finally remove those lame legendary cards, thank God. Our first match was retreat costs are extra, and although that didn't factor in at all, her Grimer and Muck combo took out both Paras pretty quick. Attempt number 2. She chose the black hole rule where discard piles don't exist. And well, the ultra powerful GR Executive Allison got beat by a single Parasect as she only used 2 Psyduck and 2 Squirtle each. This was like a practice match. So yeah, that was over quick. But now, only the king remains. The final battle of Pokemon Card GB2. Here comes Great Team Rocket, and it's been a long time coming. Let's get this bread. King Velici's fight is a best out of 3, and he rotates decks each time. First up is a fighting-based deck, and it's Paras vs Machop. To buy some time, I Gust of Wind Machop pretty early to bring in Chansey, since Chansey needs a lot to do anything. But then he starts using Bills and Bill's teleporters quite often, and he's obtaining a ton of cards very fast, and gets a powered up Dark Machoke, soon becoming Dark Machamp. He gets his deck down to 22 cards just like that. He uses a switch to take Chansey back to bring in a Machop? Okay. Machop takes out Paras, in comes Parasect. I use a Gust of Wind to bring Chansey back to continue damaging it. He does start adding energies to Chansey, and Double Edge would be an instant KO for both of us. He retreats Chansey instead and brings in a Dark Machamp who Mega Punches me for 30. But I go absolutely ballistic next. A Defender, a Potion, 2+ powers, and I poison Dark Machamp, bringing it down to 20. It goes away from poison, so in comes Machop. I Gust of Wind it to bring my old friend Chansey back. Chansey retreats for Dark Clefable with no energies. Interesting choice. I get to hitting it and heal up in the process. He eventually uses a switch for Dark Machoke and starts using Knockback to bring in some of my bench boys. He eventually retreats Poison Dark Machoke to bring in Machop, who takes a Parasect out. So I poison Machop, he has 4 cards left in his deck. So he retreats Machop for Dark Machoke with no energies and doesn't do anything for the rest of the battle, getting himself decked. I didn't even have much of a hand in that, it was all him. Round 2 is next. Round 2 is him using a fire-based deck, full of Dark Charizard. Let me just fast forward to way late in the battle here. He gets down to 4 cards left in his deck with a Kangaskhan out and only needs 2 prizes to win. He finally powers up his Kangaskhan to do Comet Punch for the first time, and he actually manages to get 3 heads, knocking out Parasect in 1 shot. All I have left is a baby Paras. I use a Gust of Wind to bring in a powerless Dark Clefable to hopefully get him to deck himself for the second time. Dark Clefable needs 3 energies to attack or 2 to retreat. 2 cards left in the deck. He puts a second energy on, 1 card left in his deck. Not sure why he didn't retreat it there. I use a Defender just in case as he draws his final card. He has to win here or else I do. He retreats for Dark Charizard with Continuous Fireball. Oh my god, if he gets even 1 heads from 2 flips, he wins. 2 tails, I win. First one, tails. 50-50 shot now, and dear God, it's a heads. I lose with him literally having 0 cards in his deck as Dark Charizard soars in like Andrew, the Angel of Death, untouched by an angel. There it is. Round 3 now. And funny enough, this battle was actually very anticlimactic. No big final standoff here. My single Parasect defeated his mega army of Squirtle, Clefairy, and Scyther, and I had full health at the end. But you know what? That's fine. It's time for this game to be over. And I did it. Minus a few alterations, and by a few I mean I had to change my deck almost every single battle. I actually managed to beat Pokemon Card GB2 Here Comes Great Team Rocket using only my superior Shroom Boys. The only single time in the entire game that a non-Paras or Parasect dealt any damage was when I accidentally placed Zapdos down, who did 30 to that Oddish. But that ultimately didn't matter. But my God, what a long ride that was. Final thoughts on the game? Yeah, it's actually really awesome, and a shame North America never got it 20 years ago. You'd really get your money's worth, that's for sure. There are so many more cards in this than the first one. Obviously this is 20 years ago, so the amount of cards that currently exist is exponentially higher, but it was actually really refreshing to see all the dark variants of Pokemon, as well as some new trainer cards, and certainly this full-on beast of a mushroom bug. This vending Parasect was a game changer and so fun to use. With all of that said, man, I have no desire to play through this game again anytime soon. I did not expect that GR Island to be as long as it was. You are forced to play through so many lackey matches before even being able to attempt the leaders, and each one requires so many different rules, so you're spending half the time changing your deck and finding different ways to win. I'm thankful I only had to go hunt specific cards that one time. So is it a good game? Heck yeah it is. I dare say it's better than the first, but I would much rather replay the first one again for making these videos. Parasect for the win. So, for real, thank you everybody again for getting so into these challenges. It's so cool to be able to put so much time into them and have them actually be enjoyed by people. And I spent a lot of my free time on this. If I eventually get to do this full time, videos will be out much faster. So thank you again everybody for subscribing and giving me your thoughts and suggestions. As always, my Patreon is available with some brand new tiers if you're interested. A quick shout out to those who have joined. You guys are the best, and I'll even be doing a challenge request in the future from Panhandle, who graciously joined the Paraspectre tier. There are also still Paraspectre shirts available for Bonfire, and all of this is in the description. Also find me on Twitter, Facebook, or my email to join in on the fun. I'm going to be taking a short break from these TCG videos to start a new epic project I have planned. Stay tuned for that. But these will not be going away for good. Paraspectre will return. No, hey wait, I should go stomp on Matthew real quick with my new Parasect. Yeah, that felt good. Look how upset he is. That's the face of a real loser. Let's see what he says after that beatdown.
Just you wait, I won't be so easily defeated next time.